cancel on my brother's wedding with 3 weeks notice? Enjoy topping Google rankings for all the wrong reasons. So, my kid brother got married 12 years ago this year. Being non-religious, they got married and had their reception at a tight barn at a country house. Thinking for something different for their wedding present, my dad decided that instead of getting several wedding cars for them, he'd hire one car to take them from the venue to their hotel, and as a surprise hire a helicopter to take the bride and her dad from my parents' place where she was getting ready her family is from down south to the venue. Then after the ceremony, the newlyweds, her immediate family and ours would each get a 10-minute flight. So, we may set out looking for a helicopter hire. We find this one company, they survey my parents' place to make sure they can get in and out. We have a 6-acre field adjoining their garden, our driveway, and do the same at the venue, confirm all is okay, and my dad signs the contract and pays the 50% deposit. 3 weeks before the wedding they ring back and decide that they can't actually get the helicopter into either the venue or our field and would be canceling the hire and would be refunding the deposit when they do their next invoice pay run at the end of the month. Cue my old man losing his shit and by the end of the day getting his money back. What followed was a mad scramble to find another helicopter firm, which in rural Lancashire aren't exactly to be found on every street corner. After a fraught couple of days, we find another firm who are more than happy with getting in and out at both places, are cheaper and more relaxed than the initial firm. When we told them why we were booking at last minute, they told us that we weren't the first that they'd heard of being let down by that firm. Here's where the petty and honestly unintentional revenge comes in. Back then I was a frequent contributor to a car forum I'll call Mark's Car Nerd Forum, which is how my wife referred to it. Not a massive one, at most I think we had about 70 members, but it was ours. One guy sorted out setup and we each bunged him a $5 a year to admit it. There were half a dozen sub-forums where we'd chat about motor shows, new car launches, F1, etc., and one invite-only VIP area. Anyway, out of frustration I posted on the open pages about how pissed off and stressed we had been over the whole thing with a post title of Beelzebub's Helitours are a bunch of absolute. Nothing I wrote was untrue, I just laid out the facts of what they did and the stress it put us through a couple of weeks before the wedding. Of course, the guys all chimed in support about how shitty we'd been treated, until someone pointed out that we as a forum had paid for Google ranking boost and that if someone searched for a particular thing, say Lamborghini Gallardo, then our forum would be on Google page 1 because one of us had posted about it. So everyone changed their post to start with a version of "What's that? Beelzebub's Helitours are a bunch of absolute C." Within a day, if you searched Beelzebub's Helitours on Google, one of the top results on page 1 was a link titled "Beelzebub's Helitours are a bunch of absolute C." Eventually one of the directors of said firm emailed the forum admin demanding the post was removed as it was damaging his firm's reputation. Dave the admin told him that unless he could provide irrefutable proof that my version of events was in any way incorrect, then the post would be staying up. This was followed by various threats of legal action, to which Dave responded by locking the post with the message "Beelzebub's Helitours have threatened to sue Mark's Car Nerd Forum to remove this post. We have repeatedly asked them provide evidence that this version of events is in any way untrue, which they have failed to do so. Until such time that they do, this post will remain up as a true account of how our member was treated by them." Edit: Jesus, I didn't expect to get this attention. Thank you for all the upvotes. To answer a few recurring questions. Points. Rich people problems. I know it seems that way, but the only reason we have properties large enough to have a 6-acre field is because 3 families, households, parents, me and wife, brother pitched together to buy the plot and old barns back in 2002. As for the cost of the helicopter hire, it cost my dad less to hire the helicopter and an executive taxi around £1,100 in total to take our kid and his wife to their hotel than it did for him to pay for the 2 classic Daimler limousines for my wedding 11 years before. Calling my brother my little brother or our kid. He's only 2 years younger than me, but he's 6'2" to my relatively short arse 5'9½". Hey, that extra half-inch is important. He's also nowhere near as broad or strong as me. So, referring to him as my little brother is a reminder that he's the younger and smaller. Also, it's very common where I come from to call your sibling our kid. Hell, my dad was calling his younger brother our kid when he'd come visit him in the weeks leading up to his passing at 74. OMG. They gave you 3 weeks notice, that's plenty of time. Anyone saying that has never planned a wedding or larger event. 3 weeks before a wedding is no time at all, especially for services which are booked months in advance. I booked my wedding cars a year before my date. We booked the helicopter 6 months before the date. Had it been cars we booked, we probably would have been shut out of luck to get replacements in that time frame at peak wedding season. As it was, we got lucky as the replacement firm had not long added another bird to their fleet and they had space available. Plus, it's still relatively rare to book a helicopter for a wedding. Back then it was really rare. People have said they must have had a reason to cancel. They did. The reason is they were cunts. The reason given did not add up. The second firm had the same risk assessments carried out and approved and flight plans for the same flights using the same model of aircraft, filed in a couple of days. There were no safety problems at the venue. They hold an annual hot air balloon rally, and if you've got space to launch a bunch of those contraptions, you've got room to launch a squadron of helicopters, and none at our place according to CAA. That's the UK equivalent of the FAA. Our field is big enough to take 40 helicopters, plus the surrounding area is clear for at least half a mile in all directions except for directly towards the houses' barns. You can't boost Google results. Apparently not. But if you run your own business or website, you'll get at least one email cold call mail shot a week from firms claiming to be able to do just that with things like search engine optimization. If you don't know better, you may well be taken in by it. We as the forum contributors must have been, as we paid a couple of £100 out the subs to try and get more members, as we started it with just a couple of dozens of us. Also, I've been told that Google wouldn't update to show our shit posting about them as quick as within a couple of days. What can I say? It was 12 years ago, so the timeline might be a bit fuzzy. You made this up, it didn't happen. What can I say other than it did? If I was going to make this up, it would have been rather more dramatic with last-minute saves like only confirming the helicopter that morning, and more severe consequences like the firm going bust, etc. You deliberately tried to destroy that firm. I didn't. I had a rant to a bunch of mates, and it just rolled from there. They are still trading today. Nothing shows up when search Google. Do you really think there's a helicopter hire firm called Beelzebub's Heli Tours? My bully made fun of me when my dad had emergency surgery, so I made him look like a tool in front of everyone. I 23F recently graduated this past weekend, and my parents came to my city to have dinner with me. When we were talking at dinner, my mom reminded me of a kid I used to attend high school with. I honestly didn't remember this story until she said his name, but I think it was a pretty satisfying moment in my young life. For context, I've been playing violin as a casual hobby for the vast part of my life. My grandma knew someone through the grapevine who would mentor me, and I attended her lessons from kindergarten all the way to senior year of high school. I have a pretty good grasp of the instrument, and an echoic memory, which is a neat little party trick. I did do some recitals here and there, but the closest I'd ever come to playing in a group was with my old church, and even then, it was pretty laid back. When I was a freshman, I joined with my school's string orchestra. This was a small group, and I was the only new freshman that year. I think it was about 14 kids at the most. My director was a very cool guy, and he was very accommodating since I was new to the learn a piece in X amount of weeks, then be ready to perform it here strategy. Again, I was a casual player. I was still on book 4 of the Suzuki collection. This did not sit well with the first chair for violins. Let's call him Guy. Guy was a junior, a top-scoring student, and had a bunch of other accolades to his name. My mom also apparently knew Guy when she did recess duty at my previous school. Guy was constantly giving her lip and always brushed her off to seem cool. According to her and some gossip, he was one of those instant gratification only child types. The kids who are spoiled rotten by their parents so they never have to wait. My mom did not like his spoiled brattiness, and when she heard he was the first chair of my orchestra, she was already getting some oh, God sort of vibes from him, but said nothing to not make me worry. Guy was a very intense leader. I think his instant gratification attitude spilled over into his musical pursuits. He was highly competitive and took his role as first chair very seriously. From day one, he made it clear that he didn't think I belonged in the orchestra. He would make snide comments about my playing, question my abilities, and generally make me feel unwelcome, especially with my other orchestra members. He always went out of his way to exclude me. I wasn't too bothered by it at first, but it did slowly chip away at me. I continued to practice diligently and work hard to prove myself. Slowly but surely, I started to gain confidence in my playing. My director was supportive and encouraged me to keep pushing forward, and I will always thank him for that. In early fall, we were due to have an open house for incoming freshman families, and my orchestra group was supposed to be there and perform for a few hours to get kids to join. Unfortunately, a few days before, my dad had some sudden medical complications, ruptured spleen. Because it was so sudden and out of nowhere, I didn't have time to really tell my director that I wouldn't be able to make it due to the family emergency. The open house was on Sunday, and my director called my house that very Sunday to try and figure out where I was. Admittedly, I panicked when the director called. It totally slipped my mind. I think I said something like, "Sir, I apologize for all this, but my dad's in the hospital, he's having surgery and it's been serious and complicated and I just don't know what's gonna happen. I apologize for not giving you a proper heads up, but it's just been a haze all weekend." Tried to remain cool and calm, even though I was mentally freaking the hell out. Thankfully, my director was very understanding and even talked to me and my mom to make sure we were doing okay. He said that it was no big deal that I was missing out, since this was a smaller event and I should focus more on my own mental health more than anything. It was nice to have such an understanding guy. I don't think he told any of the other members out of respect for my privacy, but Guy was frankly pissed about the whole situation. He was stewing on it for a while. Thankfully, my dad's surgery was a success, and he was doing better. Of course, Guy had to spoil my mood. The orchestra room at my school is usually open in the mornings, which lets kids drop off their instruments for the day. The day after the performance, I walked in to put my violin in its usual spot, and Guy angrily confronted me about why I missed out, pitching a whole scene in front of the others who were hanging out in there. I have no idea why he did this, but it was clear he was trying to embarrass me. He accused me of being unreliable and letting the team down, saying that my absence reflected poorly on the orchestra as a whole. He yelled, "What the hell gives you a pass to skip yesterday?" And at this point, I've already been stressed for the better part of the weekend, so I decide to get some petty revenge right now. I'm guessing he wants me to just start crying, so I do. He looks satisfied for a second, before I yell out, loud enough for people outside to hear, "My dad was in surgery, you dick," and then run off. Was I acting? Yes. But did it instantly shut him up? Absolutely. I got told this by a buddy in band, but after I ran out, Guy looked like he'd swallowed a damn frog at that moment. Everyone in the room was giving him a look that said, "What the hell, Guy?" and he looked like he wanted to yell at everyone. After that, I guess he tried to pitch another fit in the group chat with all his older buddies, and I think they chewed him out too, because from their perspective, he just yelled at a freshman whose dad was having a damn medical emergency. I got stopped by a few of them in the hall, and they checked in, saw if I was doing better, just extending the basic definition of empathy. It was nice to see, and I think they felt better when I confirmed some stuff. Word got back to the director quick. He must have chewed Guy a new one, because when I got into orchestra that day, Guy looked very defeated. He didn't even look at me, until the director took the stand. First off, he said the open house was a moderate success, and congratulated the group who played. However, he shifted gears and said he was very disappointed by some infighting within the group, and immediately turned towards Guy. He cleared his throat, and asked if he had anything to say to me. Guy let out a very weak "I'm sorry" and began hastily setting up his music stand. It was a very pathetic apology, but I wasn't exactly gonna sulk about not getting one. I had a lot more important things to focus on. After class, my director asked how I was doing, if my dad's surgery went okay, etc. Again, cool guy. I hope he's enjoying retirement. The director ended up emailing my mom about what happened, knowing that the little shit that defied her authority back then got significant other me minor comeuppance was a little petty revenge for her, carried out unintentionally by me. And the cherry on top? My dad came home the exact same day, so that was another weight lifted off my shoulders. Guy did revert back to his usual rudeness, but he never blew up on me again to that effect. A bunch of his orchestra buddies did end up befriending me, so I had an enjoyable 2 years with them before they all graduated. After that, I ended up taking Guy's chair, and I promised myself I'd be more laid back and understanding with other members than he was with me. I think it worked out pretty good. We were a smaller group at that point, but still a really great sounding one. TLDR, kid that hated me made in back of himself and chewed out by teacher, and that's like the best petty revenge you can ask for.